a New Jersey versus Chicago thing.
Okay.
We're not like that. That's what it's not that. This is a Chief Keef thing. Chicago didn't come out their mouth and say the XYZ. Chief Keef said.
Jersey don't love you. You get no money in my state. You get no money in my state. You Chief. You Chief.
Chief Keef. I'm riding through New York, finna go and shoot New Jersey up.
There's only one rapper who's managed to stir up such a massive diss picnic and outright hate with just a single lyric in the history of hip-hop. Well, this is none other than Chief Keef. Back when he dropped Faneto, he made a bold, unapologetic claim about wanting to blow up the whole city of New Jersey, and while some fans brushed it off as typical Keef, his Jersey fans didn't. Although this didn't come in the form of a few angry tweets or isolated callouts. However, the backlash was remarkable, so much that it grew into something way bigger, from some people hinting at putting a price on his head while still holding a diss picnic. At one point, it seemed like he'd become New Jersey's public enemy #1, with half the state practically out for him.
Jersey don't love you. You get no money in my state. You get no money in my state. You Chief. You Chief.
Chief Keef.
Chief Keef's long-standing beef with New Jersey goes all the way back to a wild night in 2014 when he was performing at a club in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and things took a turn after a group of guys tried to pull off a daring chain snatching right there in the middle of the show, attempting to swipe Sosa's jewelry and ultimately failing, which led Chief Keef to respond in the most Chief Keef way possible by releasing his now infamous track Faneto, where he didn't just take shots at those few individuals but decided to take on the whole state with lines like, "I'm riding through New York, finna go and shoot New Jersey up, trying to take my chain, I ain't going through it, we gonna come and blow New Jersey up."
I'm riding through New York, finna go and shoot New Jersey up.
Naturally, the reaction was exactly what you'd expect. It sparked instant outrage among Jersey locals, particularly gang members who felt directly challenged, and they made it clear Chief Keef was not welcome in New Jersey under any circumstances, even going as far as to organize what people have since dubbed a diss picnic, which, yes, was a literal gathering of people to publicly air their grievances and essentially throw shade at the rapper, bringing together a whole crowd just to express how they felt about the entire situation. The drama didn't stop there. As the diss picnics went viral, social media exploded with reactions and people online started weighing in with all sorts of takes, with some saying the whole thing was ridiculous, one person joking, "The world would really be different if ninjas just got jobs or a hobby," another saying, "Had the whole neighborhood out just to say Chief Keef and he not welcomed, LOL," and one comment really summing up the absurdity of it all, MFs really said, "Yo, meet at the spot, we finna make a video saying F Chief Keef," and MFs replied, "I bet say less." Adding to the frenzy, in an interview with Vlad, Shotgun Suge shared his take on the beef, recounting the details of the 2014 incident while clarifying that he wasn't there himself, but firmly believed that Keef had crossed a line, saying the rapper had stirred up not only local resentment but also sparked tensions with some of New Jersey's most notorious groups, essentially igniting a feud that went beyond just him and extended to some of the most dangerous gangsters in the state.
I got an issue for you. You disrespect my block, all headshots. I ain't playing with you. South over Sosa, shoot on sight. Play with me.
Meanwhile, despite all this heat, Keef kept his distance and stayed silent until October 2014 when he finally addressed the whole controversy in a tweet where he clarified he wasn't out to beef with all of New Jersey, saying, quote, "I love all my real fans in New Jersey," while adding, "It's just for them sucka-hatin' ad ninjas. They smoke comin'. Down." After this, he doubled down on his tough guy image during an interview with XXL, famously describing himself as a gorilla in a effin' coup, a vibe he also captured in the visuals for Faneto, where the video opens up on Keef and his crew in a zoo setting with a young girl peering through the bars to see the Chicago rapper himself decked out in high-end designer clothes, casually smoking massive joints, and once again, supposedly sending shots at New Jersey in a style only Keef could pull off.
Chief Keef, are you going to be blowing New Jersey up, my boy? No.
Not long after that, on June 2nd, 2018, Chief Keef found himself in a seriously close call when he was reportedly shot outside the Times Square W Hotel in New York City. And while no one was actually hit, the incident quickly became another chapter in his ongoing beef with New Jersey, with people immediately speculating that it was all tied to those infamous Faneto lyrics he'd thrown down years earlier.
Chicago rapper Chief Keef is doing fine tonight after being shot at in New York. The 22-year-old seen here in this file video was outside the W Hotel in Manhattan early this morning when a single bullet came at him.
I'm riding through New York. Finna go and shoot New Jersey up.
It was one of those situations where things could have taken a deadly turn. And yet in this era of rap beef, with all the IG stories, memes, trending hashtags, and online commentary that make these dramas feel like virtual entertainment, it's all too easy for people who aren't actually involved to forget that. Behind the beef, we're talking about real people, with real lives on the line and not just characters for everyone's entertainment. While Chief is not new to the gangster life, he does have a wild criminal career beyond his music. Although he is considered one of the most influential rappers in hip-hop history, bringing Chicago drill music into the mainstream. But his closet is dustier than you can imagine. Let's dive deeper. So flashing back to early 2011, Chief Keef found himself in his first legal trouble for some pretty heavy changes tied to manufacturing and distribution of H. But since he was still a minor, the court didn't outright convict him, instead declaring him delinquent and setting him up with house arrest, though being confined didn't seem to slow Keef down one bit. With his entire focus poured into music, he put out not one, but two mixtapes that year. First, The Glory Road, and not long after, Bang. Now, Bang was the one that really made people stop and listen. Its lyrics were raw. The beats hit hard, and it was all so grounded in his experiences on Chicago's South Side that it was clear Keef wasn't just another young rapper trying to catch a break. He was giving a window into a life most listeners could only imagine. When the Bang music video hit online, it wasn't just the streets talking about Keef anymore. He was starting to catch the attention of a much wider audience, and suddenly, he wasn't just Chief Keef, a kid on house arrest. He was Chief Keef, a 16-year-old with a following and a voice people were starting to take seriously. Yet even with the traction he was getting in music, the law was still close behind. Later that year, he got into another dicey situation. While leaving his grandmother's house, he got approached by a police officer, and Keef, holding a coat that hid his hands, dropped it, flashed a gun, and took off running. As the officer chased him, Keef looked back multiple times, pointing the gun, which led the officer to fire off a few shots that barely missed him. Eventually, he was caught and hit with charges for aggravated assault and unlawful firearm use, which landed him back under house arrest, this time at his grandmother's. At just 16, Keef was already walking that line between budding music star and a life that seemed determined to pull him back. Yet despite all the setbacks, he only went harder, releasing 4 more mixtapes in just 6 months, each one building up the hype around him and leading straight into what would become his highly anticipated debut album. By then, record labels had their eyes on him, sparking a massive bidding war that ended with Interscope signing him to a deal reportedly worth over $6 million over 3 years, a contract that even included a separate deal for his crew, Glory Boys Entertainment, GBE, officially putting his whole team on the industry map. Even with this huge deal though, Keef wasn't out of the street life just yet. His fame and newfound fortune didn't pull him away from the life he knew, and by September 2012, the Chicago PD announced that they were investigating him in connection with the murder of another local rapper, Lil Jojo. Jojo, a fellow drill artist, had caused a stir in the Chicago scene with his track 300K, BDK, boldly calling out the Black Disciples and dropping specific names, an act that threw him right into the center of Chicago's gang culture, which was anything but forgiving.
So I can't wait to catch him. Get it?
So when people think of Chicago, it's hard for them not to imagine the violence and gang conflicts that sadly overshadow much of the city's other attributes. This was the era of Chirac, with one of the most infamous beefs of that time between the 300 gang, which Keef represented, and 069 Brick Squad, the crew Lil Jojo claimed. At the very heart of this feud, we saw Chief Keef representing 300 and Lil Jojo repping Brick Squad, as the two became the faces of a rivalry much bigger and older than either of them. One where the music wasn't just music anymore, but a new medium for gang conflicts that had been simmering for decades. So here's the lay of the land. Chief Keef was deep in with the 300 Lamron set, which was part of the Black Disciples BD faction, while Lil Jojo was tight with the 069 Brick Squad, which was on the other side with the Gangster Disciples GD. But Jojo's alliances didn't stop there. He was connected to the Insane GDs, a group that upped the stakes in Chicago's street wars by going after anyone they saw as a threat, whether BD or even other GDs if they were labeled as ops. This made Jojo a serious player in Chicago's gang scene, and even though he was still young, he wasn't exactly an innocent bystander. He and his brother Swag Dinero had been in the gang life from a young age with family roots in the GD culture. Meanwhile, Chief Keef wasn't just another rapper out there fronting a tough image for clout. He had real ties to the streets and was just as unpredictable as Jojo, both of them raised in neighborhoods where staying tough often meant surviving by any means necessary. The ongoing BD versus GD rivalry in Chicago, which had been tearing through the city for decades before they were even born, had set the stage for these two to become symbolic figures in this never-ending feud. Now, as for what really ignited the beef between them, it didn't initially involve Keef himself. The spark came from his close friend Lil Durk, who on March 28, 2012 dropped a track called L's Anthem. In it, Durk took a direct shot at Brick Squad, saying, "Brick Squad, I say F 'em, Wugga World with 'em, so it's F 'em."
Brick Squad, I say F 'em, Wugga World with 'em, so F 'em.
This call-out wasn't just for Brick Squad. It dragged in Wugga World, a GD set aligned with Brick Squad, instantly escalating the tension.
Durk say F Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Get it?
And when Jojo and his brother Swag Dinero caught the diss playing on the radio, it was on. Jojo turned to his brother and said, "You heard that, bro? Hell nah, we gonna go crazy, that's it."
He ain't really want to rap until he heard Lil Durk's song, that L's Anthem. Cause we heard it on the radio, like we driving, you know? It was me and him, I remember we driving, boom. He said, Brick Squad, we say F 'em.
At that point, Jojo wasn't even fully into rapping, but the track fired him up enough to hit the studio and throw down his own response. That decision set off a chain reaction that no one could have seen coming. On April 27, 2012, Jojo dropped a remix of Chief Keef's track Every Day, renaming it BDK 300K, which if you don't know was a huge statement. See, the 300 Collective was made up of different BD sets in Chicago, and it included rappers like Chief Keef, Lil Reese, and Lil Durk. But Jojo didn't just stop at taking jabs at these rappers, he went after the entire Black Disciples gang by calling his track BDK, an acronym for Black Disciple Care. He made his stance loud and clear, rapping, "These rappers claim 300, but we BDK," and basically announcing to the whole city where he and his crew stood.
BDK. These niggas claim 300, but we BDK.
He even threw in a direct shot at Durk, rapping, "Durk say F Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Squeeze this effing 40, now they got him on a stretcher."
Durk say Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Get it? Squeeze this 40, now they.
This track wasn't just any regular diss. It became like an anthem for GD rappers in Chicago who were already clashing with the BDs, and it sparked a wave of escalating violence across the city. Lil Jojo's BDK diss track was like a match thrown into a powder keg, and by aiming at Chief Keef, Lil Durk, Lil Reese, and the whole BD gang, Jojo basically painted a giant target on his own back. With gang tensions already at a boiling point, this track pushed things right to the edge. Just a day after dropping his 300K diss on September 1st, Jojo was back at it, releasing even more diss tracks like I Got Dat Sack Freestyle, firing off more shots at his rivals and making it crystal clear that he wasn't about to back down. In fact, the track's success seemed to only make him bolder. Jojo was getting tons of attention, and instead of cooling things down, he amped it up, continuing to poke at the BDs. He even took it all to social media, posting taunts like 5,000 effing views in one day, tonight gonna make 2 days, but F Lil Durk, I'm not even going to diss him no more, he don't want no smoke, and Lil Durk say stop writing, shorty you give him shine, LMAO. Fam, you started this ish when you said F Brick Squad, but we're ready for whatever. Those tweets sparked a full-on back and forth with Lil Durk, Lil Reese, and a few others, and pretty soon death threats were heading Jojo's way. But Jojo didn't back off. He kept pushing, and then he made a critical mistake. Not long after the diss track started circulating, Jojo reportedly spotted Lil Reese while he was out on the streets. Thinking he had the upper hand, Jojo and his crew tailed Reese's car, shouting things like, "Reese ain't even driving, he a B, I'm a K his ass."
Catch that light. Damn, bro, that nigga got 12, bro. Ah! Reese ain't even driving. He a I'm a his ass.
And as if that wasn't enough, Jojo tweeted about it later, practically laughing at Reese for not doing anything back. But while Jojo was out there bragging online, he missed the bigger picture. His enemies weren't just ignoring him, they were getting angrier with each taunt. Jojo wasn't letting up though, he kept taunting them, even driving through their neighborhood and posting a picture to prove he wasn't scared, all while unknowingly stoking the fire. Then on September 4th, 2012, Jojo made the fateful decision to roll through his rival's area yet again with reports that Lil Reese was nearby. Jojo mocked them, doing whatever he could to get under their skin. And it worked. Lil Reese allegedly told him, "I'm off you," making it clear that things were about to take a deadly turn.
Bitch, yeah! What's wrong with you, boy? Hey, I am Brick Squad! Yeah, Brick Squad, boy! What you talking about, boy? Over your bitch!
Instead of stepping back, Jojo just kept going, taking to social media once more to call out Reese with, "I'm out here on my 2 feet, where you at?" Jojo seemed like he thought he was invincible, but this time that confidence was going to cost him big time. By around 6:13 p.m., he took it even further, boldly posting his exact location on Twitter with, "I'm on 069, I'm out here," basically inviting his rivals to come find him. And it didn't take long for them to show up. Around 7:30 p.m., Jojo was riding on the handlebars of a bike with one of his friends near 70th Street and Princeton Avenue when a 4-door sedan pulled up behind them, followed by 2 other vehicles. According to police, someone in the sedan's front seat fired shots, hitting Jojo at the corner of 70th and Princeton. He tried to run, but he only made it a short distance before collapsing on the sidewalk of 6954 S Princeton. He was rushed to Comer Children's Hospital, but by 9:03 p.m. on September 4th, 2012, Lil Jojo was pronounced dead. News outlets quickly picked up on the story, drawing connection between Jojo's death and his beef with BD affiliates like Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and Lil Reese. In the aftermath, his rivals wasted no time mocking his passing.
We don't know Jojo shit today. Stretch gang, guy. We out here on the block.
I'm making this like
Jojo.
But Chief Keef's reaction definitely got the most attention. Right after Jojo's death, Keef took to Twitter with a series of posts that a lot of people thought were in terrible taste. He laughed and made jokes, which left a lot of fans and onlookers shocked. Later, Keef claimed his account had been hacked and even said he didn't know who Lil Jojo was, but the damage was already done, and people were quick to point fingers, with rumors swirling that Keef might have been involved in planning Jojo's emder. Jojo's family, especially his mother and brother, were convinced that Chief Keef was behind it. In a TV interview, Jojo's mom even accused Keef outright, claiming he'd ordered members of his gang to take her son's life. Swag Dinero definitely backed up his mom's claims, adding fuel to the fire when one of Jojo's affiliates even claimed in an interview, quote, "We heard those rap dudes put money on my bro's head," which only ramped up the rumors that maybe Keef had put out the hit. To add even more to the speculation, Chief Keef's cousin Tato jumped on social media and mentioned names like D Rose, Fredo Santana, and Kiki, Keef's closest affiliates, as the people who allegedly carried out Jojo's emder, making the situation even messier and his name more tainted. Yes, Keef may have crossed the line with his whole scandal with New Jersey, but what is for sure is that he is just as wild as anything that may come his way. There you have it. Thanks for watching.